And today we're going to pray. Sunday school, children, you may be excused. We're going to look at P's of prayer. I'm trying to be real slick this morning and use not alliteration, but try to use some of these communication skills. So I'm going to give you 6 P's of prayer. But before we do that, I want to read a couple verses or share a couple thoughts. In Matthew 21, verse 13, Jesus is upset with the people that are in the house of God because they've made it a place of commerce and they were selling things in order for people to exercise or to try to reach some reasoning and right standing with God. And he says, this is a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of thieves. And he was actually referring to a passage in Isaiah 56, verse 7. It says, my house shall be called a house of prayer, and listen to this, for all people. And if you actually read that passage is talking about when strangers came into the house or into the tribe or into the nation of Israel, and sometimes there was an outcast or a separation of them. But in Isaiah, he's actually saying, you know what? Welcome them in, let them come in, because my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. I would suggest to you, it doesn't matter what you've gone through, where your ethnic background is, or what mistakes you think you may have made or that you have made. This is a house of prayer. This is a place where you can talk with God. You need to listen to last week's sermon because I gave a bunch of thoughts about some myths that we have about prayer. And one of the greatest myths is, I've made a mistake, therefore I'm not good enough to pray. That's a myth. In 1 Thessalonians, Paul says, pray without stopping. Live your life so much in conversation with God that you are constantly aware of Him, talking with Him, praying to Him, speaking with Him, listening to Him. You say, well, man, I get sidetracked. I know we get sidetracked, but start disciplining yourself. Have a desire that says, you know what, my goal this week is to have prayer time 3 times a day. You say, well, that's legalistic. No, what that does is that's discipline. And then all of a sudden, you know what? You're going to start thinking about God more often. Have you ever found a moment in your day where you haven't thought about God and you kind of go, gee, I really said things I shouldn't have said right there? That's an opportunity to talk with God and think about God more. I've done it. In 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14, it says, if my people who are called by my name shall listen to this, humble themselves and pray. I think there's an aspect of prayer that brings humility, because prayer means I don't have it figured out, but I know someone who does, and I'm going to go to him who does. I don't have it figured out, and I have found I need to talk with God. It says they'll humble themselves and pray, and then you continue reading. It says, then shall I hear from heaven and heal their land. Prayer. Prayer. If you got a prayer request, you can write it down. Prayer is not the last line of defense, it's the first line of offense. Now, if it becomes your last line of defense, use it. Again, don't beat yourself up and say, man, I should have. No, just do it Just do it. We disqualify ourselves when God says there's an open door. We just allow God and say, you know what? I should have before, but you know what? I'm going to now. That's wisdom. Prayer is the opportunity to reach further than you could by yourself. Prayer is the opportunity to reach further than you could by yourself. Prayer is something that believers have that connects you with a living God who hears and who answers. And there are other religions in this world that pray to dead gods, to idols, and their prayers are hopes that maybe this will happen. But you and I pray to a living God who hears you, who knows you, and who answers the prayers that he receives. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, before he got to the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6, 3 verses in a row, he says, when you pray, when you pray, when you pray. He didn't say if you pray, he says when you pray. We need to be people of prayer. I need to be a person of prayer. I need to make it more a part of my life. I need to make it so part of my life that you come around me and you realize that I'm a person of prayer. People will come to you and say, could you pray? Why would they come and ask you? Why? Because they recognize and see that you are a person of prayer, that you will come and that you will seek the living God. There's aspects of prayer. There's intercession, which is interceding, bringing someone else's case. There's also prayers of humility. There's prayers of sustenance. There's prayer of provision. There's all different types of prayer. And my desire last week and this week is that I would urge you and cause you to look at prayer. I think prayer's got a bad rap. Because sometimes we say pray, and the first thing that comes to our mind is a cold, damp basement with no room, no windows, nothing else, and you sit down and you shiver, and you got to go, oh, Lord, this is terrible conditions, but I got to pray. No, we can pray in a nice, warm vehicle. But we have made prayer this funny-looking thing, that activity that is like, you know what, it's no fun. I grew up, and the picture of prayer to me turned me off because it wasn't a connecting with a living God. It was a bunch of stuff that we did. And I want us to learn how to pray, but you pray by talking with God. And I say with, that means you talk and you listen. My 6 principles and 6 P's from the Lord's Prayer. The first one in Matthew 6, verses 9 to 13, is know the protocol. Know the protocol. Our Father who art in heaven. Approach the King with reverence and understanding the protocol. There's an old song that used to be sung, he may be our father, but he's not our old man. And sometimes we make it so casual and so familiar. Have an awe and a reverence for the King. Have an awe and a reverence for the King. Approach him with protocol. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your name is hallowed. It's high above every single name that can be named. Your name is higher. Higher than sports, higher than finances, higher than gaming, higher than money, higher than health, higher than people, higher than relationships, higher than success. His name is higher. Approach him the way you want your kids to approach you. And you say, well, I want my kids just to approach me. Yeah, but I'm sure you like it when they say, Daddy, Mommy, not, hey, you. Hey, money bags. No, he is the king. Protocol. He is most holy. He is most holy. He is set apart. There is absolutely nothing that compares to my king. The next one is he's preferred. My preference is him. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. I prefer your kingdom to come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. This morning, we experienced some of heaven touching us here on earth. I don't know if you experienced it, but I did. And I have found the presence of the King has been so amazing in worship. Olivia, you have moved to a different level. I don't know if you know it, but you've moved to a different level in worship. A level that this body needs. It's a level, we need it, and I thank you for that. He is preferred and he is preeminent. He's not the first among many. He is the first. That's it. He's not Jesus and he's Jesus. Period. End of paragraph. Stop. Full stop. Your kingdom come. Your will be done. Unless it's his will, it's not the best will. I'll just tell you, if it's not his will, it's not the best will. And you say, well, what's his will? Here. Don't ask me. Read this. Read this from one cover to the next, and then come to me if you still don't know what his will is. And we'll read it again. This is his covenant. This is his word. This is Jesus. When you read about this, it says in the beginning was the word, and then it talks about the word. This word became flesh and dwelt among us. The revelation of God with us. He is preeminent. He is preferred. The third one is he is our provider. Give us this day. It's okay to ask God for sustenance or provision. That is okay. Give us this day our daily bread. Everything I have is because of him. Everything I have. Well, you say, well, no, I get up early and I work. Yeah? Don't start boasting about what you do. Start boasting about the God who gave you that beautiful job. Start boasting about the God who gives you raises. Start boasting about the God that blesses you. Start boasting about the God who gives you something that other people wish they had. It's not about me. It's about him. And he is my provider. He is your provider. And the moment we miss that, what we do is we miss what God is all about. He's all about his kids. I'm not smart enough to figure it out and to make it happen. But I am brilliant enough to come before him. Man, I've sat down with people this week and I said, I need help. That was the smartest thing I could do. Because if I sat there and said, I got it figured out, I didn't, and I don't. Be smart enough to say, I need him. You are my provider. Give me your food today. Not just physical food, but spiritual food. Lord, you are my provider. In Deuteronomy, it says he is the one who gives us power to create or to make wealth. And don't forget your Creator in the days of your youth. He is our, number 4, our pardoner. He is the one that pardons. It says, forgive us our debts as we forgive those who trespass against us. He shows us the way and models it. And he says, while we were yet sinners, he died for us. Therefore, the model is, you know what? There's nothing that can get larger than forgiveness in my life and in relationship. He pardons. And pardon means you don't bring it up again. Man, I like to have that in my back pocket because last week you said this. And he says he puts it as far as the east is from the west in the sea of forgetfulness. He doesn't pull it up again. When you pardon someone, husbands and wives, when you discuss things in a rather loud voice, you're not arguing, you're discussing, I know. But when you discuss things in a loud voice and the temperature rises and somebody says, forgive me, yes, your forgiveness follows. There is behavior to be had. But you forgive and you leave it. You don't keep it on the table and pull it out whenever you know. I forgive and we move forward. He pardons. Don't live a life that has strings connected to your past or to someone else's past. That will damage a relationship quicker than it can repair it. Forgive and forgive fast. Determine that if I wrong someone, I will correct that fast and I will not let it fester. And in today's world of blab it first, paste it on social media, shame somebody here, shame somebody there, keep them in their place. This is an art that you and I need to learn how to walk in, and that's forgiveness. Next one, number 5. He is our protector. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. He goes before you. And then even when he goes before us and we still make a mistake, he still delivers us. I don't know about you, but I am so thankful that he cleans up my messes. Yes, I have to clean up my messes, but he also does, and he takes care of me. Protection is not just when you're in trouble, but protection is also before you get in trouble. I thank God that he goes before me. Wake up in the morning and in your prayer time say, God, I thank you that you've gone before me. So when I have that meeting, when I have this confrontation, when I have to have this conversation, you've already gone before me and you've been there and you've done the work and you've seen it, and now you're with me as I get there. I need to learn to follow. And if I could be bold enough, I'd say each and every one of us here needs to learn how to follow. The last one here, number 6, is he is powerful. He is potent. He's actually omnipotent or omnipotent. All-powerful, meaning there is none that compares. We live in a comparison world. He does not compare. We started with the recognition of our Father and his greatness and his awesomeness, and we conclude by returning back to that, saying, for yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. There's a sandwich that happens in the Lord's Prayer. It starts with recognizing his power and his preeminence and who he is, the protocol. And it ends with concluding with returning back to his power and his protocol and his preeminence. Yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. You and I serve the greatest champion in the universe. Not just the world. the universe. Whether it's Marvel, whether it's DC Comics, I don't care what universe it is. He is the king of all. He's the champion. He's the Lord, capital L, of lords, little l. He is the king, capital K, of kings, small k. He is above them all. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. And I would suggest to you, he's everything in between, because it says Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. In other words, he's wrote the book. Can I get an amen here? I know you're busy writing your prayer requests, and I've got you preoccupied, but every once in a while an amen, even if it's an inappropriate time, I'll take it. Begin with God, stay with God, end with God. Always start with prayer. Always start with prayer. And if you start and you didn't start with prayer, pray then. Restart. Reset. But pray. So this morning, it's 11 o'clock, but I'd like to have some time of prayer. So if you have a prayer request,